created my own little algorithms to do one thing or another, like disease states, a mortality algorithm. And
I think you will have a whole levels of robotics, the humanoid robots or non-humanoid robots, whatever the case is.
But the one that I really gravitated towards was Alteryx, low code, no code, business intelligence stuff, data science, machine learning, things like that.
Audio, the text, and then there's big metaverse buzz. Everybody knows the metaverse.
Another week of AI. The real good is to know, okay, the 2 months, 2 weeks, whatever, 2 days of work was worth it.
You know, it's sort of like the weight of the shoulder is on you after the conversation, right? Usually with the conversation, you take the weight off, right? Yeah. But I think one of the guests offline was saying robotics, right? We really talk about AI a lot, but we don't talk about the robots specifically, you know? And like you just said, AI is everywhere. What do you keep up with, AI or the robots that are using AI, right? What do we...
Well, I can give you a human perspective of it. As a woman that wears all the hats, I feel like a robot sometimes.
And artificial intelligence. A lot of the things when it comes to what we see and how we see it and how it's delivered is a hijacking of natural processes, and artificial intelligence is used to do that, right? As far as what other impulses we have and what are our future impulses, and then to use artificial intelligence to gain the insight and then act upon it. So
being that you have a young son and you don't have a technology background, just the fact that you're courageous enough to raise your hand and say, hey, I have some questions. Could you help walk with me to understand this so I can understand myself better, so I can understand my child better, so we can do this life better together?
When it comes to AI, or I call it IT, I'm going to go with IT first, because when I started learning computer back in the day, it was IT, right?
Discussion where psychology of a children will say, well, if I'm looking at this thing with my 2 eyes, that thing probably has 2 eyes back at me, right? So there's a person actually behind this whole conversation, which has happened where people have gone down the mental suffering path where they were dating, they were having a girlfriend that's AI. And I think Lucky mentioned that digital natives are far more curious about AI, but it's not that curiosity that's driving it. It's a competition to keep up with everybody else that's driving it, right? So we have a task here, which is to say there's the digital refugees and there's the digital immigrants, right? How do we get digital refugees and immigrants to kind of say, like, how do we help the digital natives, right? Get them with the story that makes sense, personalize that story, right? Because when it comes to the digital purchasing things, they don't care about personalizing story. They just want you to spend that dollar, and once they spend the dollar, they're out, right? There's no continuity to tell you more stories later on.
Providing access to you for things that you may not have had before. So just utilizing that understanding that you are worthy of having more than you currently have, and you can learn to do something else, because we see robots in hotels and restaurants now that's doing server work, or even when you go to some of the grocery stores where they've completely redid the grocery store, and now you have, those lines.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Thank you so much for having me. Masako, you're awesome. I love hearing from you all the time. And Bobby, you give it from that intellectual standpoint. So appreciate you guys for having me.
To take it even a step further for individuals that, what you don't know, that goes with that curiosity that Asif always talks about, right? Show up curious, ask the questions, dig deep, and then dig a little deeper, and then dig a little deeper. When it comes to AI, when I think about it, I always say, as you guys have said, art imitates life, life imitates art. So when we think about AI and what's out there today in order for us to discover, I think of it, because we have to make it fun, right? We don't
if a 73-year-old can learn about cybersecurity and AI, I think anybody can learn it. But that's just one of the most beautiful things that I've kind of gotten to that crossroad. And like Asif mentioned, it's a storytelling that people will remember. They will remember that. People may not remember who we are today, but they will remember this content because we're telling our stories, our individual stories. So when you talk about the crossroads of who I am, I think it's just basically being that person to help, most importantly. because Iron Man did have a heart, Masaki. We saw that.
Yeah.
So, when you talk about Starks, I think Starks has that, and that's the crossroads. But how do we bridge the gap to, the technology? I've been in this field for 15 years, been in cybersecurity for 10, and I love to learn from others, especially our non-technical community.
Saying things, or you can say things that you wouldn't say to other people. You know that book, Everybody Lies, where they looked at all the Google queries, the difference between what people say in public and what they really care about. What if you own that for yourself so you can get honest reflection and then recommendations for resources to help you with the things that you actually care about, that you're actually doing, and not that public persona of yourself. So
Everyone Lies was written by a former Google social scientist. So, you can imagine him having access to how much data Google consumes and how Google uses it, and what sort of insights you find from the searches that people do on their quote unquote private laptop, right? Because Google is watching, Google is listening into a girl that's searching what she's searching about boys and what the boys are searching about girls. And now we can see a huge delta between boys and girls, right? And that book, I laugh about it, but it is so down to the ground that it's bothering, right? It bothers you to your skin. And it's one of the books that actually lit a fire under me to say, like, any business I ever do in my life, any startup or any innovation will never have data privacy concerns.
Only begin to scratch the surface of what AI can do. The beginning. We're barely there. So for me, I think it's all about bridging that gap to helping people understand not to be fearful of AI, but to have faith in what it can do for you, as you guys alluded to.
Use case study, actually, Google revealed that North Koreans are putting in for application from North Korea to be hired remotely to work for a company in US. And they are going through that process, and company has no idea a North Korean person is actually in their roster getting paid. It doesn't work that way. It's opposite. It starts with a poor quality and matures over time, works very well. Where in coding, it works very well the first day, but day 300, you have more cost of fixing it than the time you bought it.
And collaboration truly looks like. And that's the normal cycle, right? Of that storming, forming, and norming. But the norming is going to come in once we have real standards-based stuff, when we return some of the stuff back to people who do the work of R&D because that's what they love to do, not because they're trying to be super rich.
Next conversation we'll have, I think we'll have lots of topic to discuss, and I'm looking forward to, really am excited about, discussing military guys that are in uniform right now, how to transition out of military uniform into a civilian role that will have AI in it, and they will have to have enough data literacy to engage with those AIs. We will talk more about subject matter expertise like Bobby's, talking about the architecturing data, right? Architecturing those data. So that way, when you're speaking about AI, you can speak with the correct terminologies, right? That's important. But, Brian, a soft spot in my heart is for ethical hackers. We will talk about ethical hacking, and we will have the subject matter experts break those down. And of course, Masako, we were talking about business. We were talking about how to start a business, how to run a business, and how to use AI for that. So each of this conversation requires their respective time. They need to have a lot of unpacking and unfolding, and that's what we will do. So with the support of Pine AI, with Andrew Ng and deeplearning.ai, I'm really am excited. And if you are looking to continue with this discussion, join us every bi-weekly conversation. But in between those bi-weekly conversation, you can sign up for Coursera. And if you're interested, you can reach out to me. You get 60% discount through Pine AI, through deeplearning.ai for Coursera. And also, if you're interested in just learning about AI, but you don't want to pay, you go to deeplearning.ai and you get a lot of contents for free as well. And of course, there's always YouTube. So any reference that we make, feel free to research that and look that up on YouTube. There's lots of ways to unpack it. So any departing thoughts and words, guys? I know it's late at night, but I'm looking forward to the next conversation, and we'll set that up.
For all parties listening, no matter where you are, be limitless.
There you go. Ay, 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 ay,
That means we had an exciting time. My energy is up.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you all so much.